Now it's time for Culture Talk. This is the segment where we talk about the intersection of science, faith, and pop culture and how culturally relevant topics can be used to start conversations about your faith. I'm joined today with philosopher and theologian Ken Samples.
Hi, Sandra.
Thank you for joining me. We're going to be talking about something we see all too often, and that is not nice comments. Not nice comments, and how we can maintain Christian character even in the comments section. So unfortunately, we see comments and we get feedback even from, I think you've had interactions with people where they are going to use straw man attacks and they're going to be unkind in responding to either an argument or maybe even, like for us, our parents and different things that we'll see in the comment section. How, as a well-known speaker, someone who is out there, how do you handle such attacks and criticism?
Well, it's never easy it's not easy to be gracious to someone who's not returning the favor to you. However, when I'm on social media, I'm cognizant of the fact that somebody's watching, somebody's observing. And in fact, the arguments that I'm presenting, Sandra, may be more relevant for people that are observing than the very person that I'm interacting with. So I try to stay away from, I try to stay away from the cutting remark, try to keep my mind on what's the point, what's the argument, what am I attempting to reason to and for. And so in doing that, I realize that there may be other people that are going to benefit, even if this person isn't so gracious.
Right. It's something that we're kind of used to hearing and seeing is this keyboard courage where people are very bold because they're online. They don't have to say it to your face. And, that's something that we all have to deal with. Anyone who's in the limelight or in a public arena, we have to kind of wade through that. And you offer some really good tips in your podcast. It's 7 traits of apologetic integrity.
Yes.
Can you give us maybe some of the highlights from those 7 traits?
Yeah, the first one I start with is being respectful. And being respectful doesn't mean you necessarily agree with the person. You can always be tolerant of the person, even if you're not accepting of the argument that they're giving. And so an attitude of respect, at least granting they're made in the image of God, they're presenting a point of view, I'm going to hear it, I'm going to listen to it, even if I don't agree with it. I think also being fair-minded, Sandra, and that means that I'm not going to try to look at their argument in the worst light possible. I'm going to try to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to try to be fair. I'm going to try to be reasonable. And then I just think overall being charitable.
Right.
How can I treat other people? I like the golden rule of apologetics, which simply means that I'm going to try to treat other people's ideas the way I want mine treated. Doesn't mean I accept them, but it means I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, be fair-minded, and try to be charitable.
And you talk about in your podcast about examples of when that doesn't happen. And you used the karate that you took as a kid and this karate stance that you take. So what happens then in these interactions when somebody comes at you and they're using ridicule or sarcasm, we all tend to then go to this defensive stance. And you talk about that, this karate stance that you take. And it's a way to kind of prepare ourselves for the blows that are coming our way. And one of your points that I love in the 7 traits is that you talk about being able to disagree without being disagreeable. What does that look like?
Yeah, and again, I think that's differentiating the person from the argument. I may not like the argument, I may not be persuaded by the argument, but that doesn't mean that I have to be disagreeable to the person. I like to be tolerant of people always, intolerant of bad ideas. And so if we can take it away from the personal, stay away from sarcasm, ridicule, ad hominem, all of those are so personal in orientation. If I can bring it back to the argument and have a civil discussion. Now, of course, I've said all of these things. Doesn't mean I'm always perfect in the way I carry them out. And we have to ask the Lord, Lord, help me to be effective in communicating my Christian faith, but help me to love people the way the Holy Spirit would have me to.
Right. And that's a great reminder. I know for me, when I see comments like that and I'm feeling, hurt or a little angry, I just stay away. And that's sometimes our option, especially online. We can just say, you know what? I'm not going to engage in this, because especially if it doesn't have to do with the argument, but more appearance or attacking a person versus the argument.
And what you write online is going to be there for a long time.
Right. So no, thank you. I'll stay away.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much,
You're welcome.
Ken. I highly recommend listening to Ken's podcast. Go to reasons.org and search for 7 Traits of Apologetic Integrity.